Drake is being called out right now by Suge Knight because Drake posted a Tupac chain on his Instagram, and you guys know he's a fan.
When Drake bought Tupac's chain, he didn't expect a storm, but Suge Knight just turned the heat up. New viral footage shows a tense clash around Drake's flex, and since then, the noise has only grown louder. We've got the breakdown. It started with one Instagram story. Drake flashed a diamond-flooded Death Row Records pendant lined up beside Pac's All Eyes on Me cover, where Pac rocked the same style. What looked routine suddenly had the timeline spinning. That single post morphed into the nastiest 2025 storyline, dragging in Death Row history, Tupac's legacy, and a prison phone call that shook the culture. On August 24, 2025, Drake's IG had folks double-taking. He placed the pendant next to Pac's image and let the internet cook. Fans assumed it was Pac's real chain, with talk of a price tag from a few hundred bands to over $1 million. It felt on brand for Drake, who's known for collecting Pac memorabilia. People debated if it was tribute or disrespect, and there's precedent. In July 2023, Drake dropped over $1 million at Sotheby's for Pac's self-designed crown ring, certified to the last serial and traced through Pac's godmother, Yasmin Ula. That buy was paperwork bulletproof, so nobody questioned it. But this chain flex has the street split, and Suge is making sure Drake hears it. Now the backlash is hitting from every direction.
Drake bought Tupac's crown ring for over $1 million at a New York City auction, but what you might not know is that this was actually Tupac's ring that he was wearing at his last public appearance. But there's actually a cooler backstory to all of this. So, Tupac was actually engaged in 1996 to Kidada Jones, the daughter of Quincy Jones. And if you pay attention to the bottom of the ring, where the band is, it reads out Pac and Dada 1996.
But this Death Row chain hit different. Unlike that crown ring backed with airtight receipts, Drake gave zero proof this time. No auction name, no seller, no paperwork, nothing. Just posted the chain and left the streets guessing. That silence had folks suspicious right away. The timing added more heat. August 2025, over a year after Drake got burned by Kendrick in what many call the nastiest rap beef in decades. People questioned if this was real love for Pac or if Drake was throwing shade, trying to spin some payback energy. Kendrick already dragged Pac's name into their feud after Drake pulled a risky move on tailor-made freestyle. Using AI to mimic Pac's voice had the West Coast fuming. The backlash was so strong he had to yank the track completely. Now with this chain flex, the culture can't tell if Drake's honoring Pac or playing with fire again.
This still feels like the shade of Not Like Us, Kendrick Lamar battle. So I'm gonna buy the chain anyway. I know the West Coast doesn't like me and Tupac's your savior. Guess what? Death Row around my neck. You know what I mean? What y'all gonna do?
You feel me? What's the move here? Real recognize real. That Death Row chain ain't just another shiny piece, it's a sacred artifact of hip-hop. Suge Knight designed it as the ultimate gang flag, a symbol of loyalty, rank, and that raw danger that made Death Row the most feared label of the 90s. That electric chair pendant wasn't decoration. It carried the rebellious spirit that had West Coast gangster rap running the whole industry. Only the chosen few touched an authentic Death Row chain. Suge controlled them heavy, with whispers saying only 5 to 10 legit pieces were ever made. Snoop had one early before switching to the paw design when heat rose, and maybe a handful of Death Row insiders ever got theirs. These weren't for sale in stores, they were earned badges, proof you were truly Row family. The cultural weight was wild, so much that schools across the West Coast banned them for fueling chaos. Rocking that pendant meant more than money. It announced your loyalty to a lifestyle, a movement, a reign of terror that rewrote rap history. Founded in 1991 by Suge, Dr. Dre, Dick Griffey, and the DOC, Death Row reshaped West Coast rap with albums like The Chronic and Doggy Style. Their cutthroat tactics and street presence made them untouchable, respected, and feared. The chain's design matched the Empire's energy. 14-karat yellow gold, about 3 carats of diamonds, and crafted detail that balanced beauty with menace. At 2 to 3 inches wide, the electric chair pendant demanded attention the second it hit your chest. Pac's connection made the chain untouchable. When Suge bailed him out for $1.4 million in October 1995, Pac gained access to Suge's personal chain, the iced-out piece immortalized on All Eyes on Me. That image turned the pendant into legend, forever tied to Pac's face and Death Row's peak. So when Drake popped up with a lookalike pendant, the culture split instantly. His 2023 crown ring buy earned respect. It was legit, with airtight paperwork traced to Pac's godmother. But his history of using Pac's name in battles had the West Coast skeptical. Soon as the chain pic dropped, fans and insiders dissected every detail, comparing it to Pac's original. Some said Drake was honoring the legacy. Others accused him of buying clout to force his way into West Coast credibility.
And people are just like, why? Why? Yeah. This belongs in a museum, or this belongs with Pac's family. This doesn't feel right. So there was a lot of conversation about that.
The heat rose even higher because of Drake's shaky standing with West Coast hip-hop after Kendrick handed him that brutal loss. With K-Dot crowned the king of West Coast rap, every move Drake made tied to the region came under heavy fire. His sudden obsession with Pac's memorabilia looked more like clout chasing than respect, especially dropping it right after that L. And the criticism didn't just stay online. Real West Coast OGs started calling him out loud. Rapping Forte, who already clashed with Drake over borrowed lyrics, snapped on the chain buy, saying straight up that Drake had no right to own such a sacred piece of West Coast history.
And it's funny because one of the people that was very had a tweet criticizing it was Rappin' Forte. I know y'all remember Rappin' Forte from the song Players Ball, Players Club.
Yeah.
You feel me? Among many other hits from the Bay Area. He's from Frisco. Also, a lot of that song Players Club was interpolated by Drake on that song. That whole verse, you feel me?
Yeah.
Was flipped.
I mean, look, he's got the options. It just, I don't feel like he's let the battle go. So I'm suspect.
Oh no. let me clear that up for you, Shawnee.
Yeah.
He hasn't let the battle go. Let me fix that up for you. It's not over.
So I'm like, is this Death Row purchase genuine, or is it? I mean, I guess it would be hard to tell.
The drama hit a boiling point once real hip-hop heads started questioning if Drake's Death Row chain was even legit. Unlike that crown ring buy, which came with bulletproof documentation, this pendant came with nothing. No provenance, no receipts, no airtight history. Collectors and memorabilia experts quickly noticed discrepancies, pointing at issues with diamond quality, setting work, and overall craftsmanship. The whispers got louder when an authentication specialist suggested Drake's chain might not be an authentic 90s Death Row piece at all, but a high-end reproduction. Hardcore collectors began breaking it down detail by detail, from diamond counts to construction methods, saying the pendant didn't fully line up with the originals. The culture was buzzing, but nobody expected what came next. Locked away on a 28-year sentence for voluntary manslaughter, Suge Knight himself was about to set the record straight. On August 26, 2025, just 2 days after Drake's Instagram post had the internet in chaos, the original Death Row boss decided to jump into the conversation from behind bars at R.J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego. Suge Knight, the same man who rode shotgun with Pac on his final night, called into the Art of Dialogue podcast, a platform known for getting raw, unfiltered hip-hop history straight from the source. His voice alone shook the culture, and what he dropped in that call sent shockwaves across the industry. That single interview racked up over 1.8 million views on YouTube within days, igniting a wildfire on social media. Suge spoke with the authority of someone who lived every moment of Death Row's golden era, and his claims had the culture doing backflips.
Only person I got Death Row chains, and I'm the only one handing them out. I gave one to Snoopy first. Andre had a Death Row chain. There was a few of the homies, none of the on Death Row had Death Row chain. Dog Pound didn't even have Death Row chain.
Suge's words hit different because he wasn't just another voice, and he was the mastermind behind the Death Row chain concept itself. He oversaw their creation and personally chose who was worthy to wear them, so when he spoke, the streets listened, and he made it clear he was only getting started. Then came the bombshell that shattered Drake's credibility in the memorabilia game. Suge broke down Pac's true relationship with that legendary chain seen on the All Eyes on Me cover. According to him, the piece Drake flashed wasn't just questionable, it was flat out fake. Even worse, Suge claimed the whole story about Pac having his own separate Death Row chain was pure cap, rewriting everything fans thought they knew.
When Pac came home, I'm like, I'm gonna make you one. He was like, you my big bro. Let me wear yours. That's more important. So my Death Row chain at the time was full of diamonds on the chain and full of diamonds on the bezel. Pac came home and got that chain.
This revelation flipped the entire script on the culture. Suge wasn't just saying Drake's chain was fake. He dropped the hammer that Pac never even owned a Death Row chain to begin with. According to him, Pac had been rocking Suge's personal chain, the fully iced out piece with diamonds covering everything from pendant to links. This wasn't just about authentication anymore, it was about rewriting decades of hip-hop history. Collectors and fans who swore Pac had his own piece were suddenly faced with the idea that the truth was totally different. Suge's words, delivered from behind bars, carried authority no outsider could match, and you could hear the pain, too. The pain of losing his closest homie, the man he bailed out for $1.4 million back in October 1995. That moment cemented a bond stronger than business sealed when Pac signed to Death Row. When Suge painted the picture of Pac asking to wear his chain, it wasn't just jewelry, it was family. Pac calling him my big bro symbolized the brotherhood they built in that final explosive run of Pac's career. That emotional detail made Suge's version of events hit even harder with the culture. And he didn't stop there. Suge started pointing out flaws he said proved Drake's pendant was nothing but a high-end knockoff. His most damning claim? An inscription on the back reading, "All Eyes on You, 1996. A detail Suge swore would never exist on any authentic Death Row piece.
I heard a few people say that there was something wrote on there. What wrote on that chain, or the charm. Definitely not the chain, but the charm on the back, it wasn't nothing.
Suge broke it down plain. Authentic Death Row chains never carried inscriptions on the back. They were unique, non-commercial pieces given only to those who earned their place in the Row family, not marked up trinkets for the market. So when Drake's pendant showed "All Eyes on Me" text, Suge said it screamed reproduction. A flashy copy made to fool buyers, not a true piece from the 90s. And he didn't sugarcoat it. His words were sharp. Drake got hustled on that chain, and if he's smart, he better handle business quick.
Now, if Drake bought that chain, Drake should go back and keep their drawers up there. But I don't go hard about it because it ain't Drake's fault. I believe Drake really admired Tupac and liked Tupac.
This drama went way beyond money. Even though people estimated Drake dropped anywhere from hundreds of thousands to over $1 million on the pendant. The anger wasn't aimed at Drake. It was aimed at the slick dealer who allegedly finessed him. Surprisingly, Suge showed Drake some respect, saying the Canadian rapper truly loved Tupac. That nuance mattered. Instead of tearing Drake down, Suge positioned himself as protecting both Pac's legacy and Drake's pockets from shady memorabilia hustlers. His advice? Drake should stick with people who honor Pac truthfully, not jealous clowns trying to cash in. And Suge wasn't done. The very next day, August 27, 2025, he jumped back on the line with another Collect Call podcast appearance. This second interview added deeper context on the history of Death Row chains, and his ability to shape the culture from prison showed his voice still carried serious weight. Suge described authentic chains as fully iced out from pendant to links, craftsmanship that cost tens of thousands even back in the 90s. That kind of detail only highlighted how weak Drake's piece looked compared to the originals. The impact was instant. Within hours, social media exploded with debates, memes, and breakdowns. Hip-hop outlets blasted the story everywhere, turning it into one of the biggest controversies of 2025. Posts about Drake's chain hit over 5.6 million views, while TikToks on the drama racked up another 3.2 million. Hashtags like #DrakeChain and #Suge Knight trended, with users clowning Drake and dissecting authentication details. And then came more receipts. Whack 100 hopped on a live stream with DJ Academics, co-signing Suge's take and clowning Drake's chain as a plastic plaything next to the real Death Row pieces. Even Reggie Wright Jr., former head of Death Row Security, jumped in, is providing technical insight only an insider could give. Wright explained the construction and diamond quality of the authentic chains, backing Suge's claims with first-hand knowledge from Death Row's peak years.
So he was talking about it, and he was like saying that him and another authenticator who's just like a Death Row historian, and basically they said they know it's fake because Pac's chain had 5 diamonds where the belt is for the person on the Death Row chair, and this one only has 4. So he was saying that this chain, I believe he said that this chain is a Death Row chain, but it was just made at a later time and date.
These weren't casual takes. They were hyper-specific technical details only someone who witnessed the chain's creation could know. Suge pointed to things like the diamond count on the electric chair's belt section, a detail nearly impossible for counterfeiters to copy if they were just working from old photos. That shifted the spotlight to the memorabilia market itself. Hip-hop artifacts tied to Tupac had skyrocketed in value, turning into investment pieces for collectors worldwide. But that rise also opened the door for fakes. With money pouring in, shady sellers and slick scammers found ways to pass off reproductions as originals, exploiting the gaps in authentication standards. The market's growth had outpaced the guardrails, meaning even someone with Drake's money and resources could still get played by a well-made counterfeit.
Yeah.
So let's clarify further. So the guy that sold the chain is this dude, Alexander Bitar, right?
Yeah.
Who I just looked up. Apparently, he's the founder of Alexander Bitar Jewelry. So he's a specialized dealer in a rare, historically significant, and pop culture collectible. So
Yeah,
this is
he's
a dude
legit
that
too.
has items of that nature. All right.
He's also super legit.
Suge's interview went deeper than just trashing Drake's chain. It framed him as the ultimate guardian of Death Row's legacy and Pac's memory, the one voice with the authority to authenticate artifacts and rewrite history when others got it wrong. Even from prison, Suge proved he could still shape hip-hop narratives and keep his name tied to the culture's most iconic moments. But while fans obsessed over whether Drake got finessed, few stopped to think about the irony. The man dropping these bombshells was himself locked up, staring down the harsh reality of his own fate. At 60 years old, Suge Knight sits in R.J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego, serving a 28-year sentence for voluntary manslaughter. He won't even face a parole board until October 2034. That sentence came from a 2015 hit and run that marked the end of Suge's run as a feared music mogul. The incident went down during the filming of Straight Outta Compton. On January 29, 2015, Suge showed up at a Compton set after being denied entry to a meeting involving Dr. Dre and Ice Cube. What followed turned deadly. In a tense confrontation, Suge threw his truck into reverse, running over Terry Carter and Cleabone Sloan. Carter lost his life while Sloan was left badly injured. The case sealed Suge's transformation from death row boss to convicted felon. And yet, despite being caged, his ability to generate millions of views and dominate headlines shows how strong his influence remains. The culture might debate Drake's pendant, but the real backdrop is Suge himself, a fallen empire builder still finding ways to control the conversation from behind bars.
He was scared to fight Bone. Bone wanted to fade. He fired on him through the window. Bang, bam, get out, nigga, get out. Instead of Suge, what'd he do? Threw the truck in reverse, threw it in drive, threw Bone off, bagged over him, ran over his leg, and then tried to make a run for it. See, this is the world don't want to see it for what it. Suge Knight got 28 years and killed his homie because he was scared to squabble Bone.
Suge's defense tried the self-defense angle, arguing he panicked and was only trying to escape what he thought was a setup. But prosecutors painted him differently, a man whose violent ways had finally caught up. The case was messy, tangled with Suge's long record of run-ins and the weight of California's 3 strikes law, which guaranteed harsher penalties for repeat offenders. By the time sentencing came in October 2018, the picture was clear. This wasn't just about one night in Compton, it was about decades of trouble finally landing heavy. Judge Ronald Cohen broke it down with mathematical precision, showing exactly how Suge's prior convictions stacked into the 28-year punishment. It was California's structured way of saying enough was enough. The law had finally boxed Suge in for good.
The high term is 11 years since he doubled under the strike law. Defendant is levied a term in state prison of 22 years. Pursuant to Penal Code Section 12022, Subsection B, Subsection 1, he is levied an additional consecutive 1 year in state prison. Pursuant to Penal Code Section 667, Subsection A, Subsection 1, prior conviction the defendant has admitted, he is levied an additional 5 years in state prison for a total unstayed term of 28 years.
Suge's sentence wasn't just about the 2015 hit and run, it was the final result of a lifetime in the streets. Decades of behavior caught up, with past convictions stacking heavy against him. That 1992 assault at Solar Records, which earned him probation back then, laid the groundwork for harsher penalties later. By the time the courts weighed it all, Suge faced a punishment far beyond what a first-time offender would ever see. Inside, his living situation reflects both his celebrity and the threats around him. Instead of general population, Suge sits in protective custody, a move tied to his fame and the dangers of prison politics. Too many inmates would love the clout of testing their reputation against Suge Knight, making protection his only option.
Now, I'm gonna ride with the homie that's calling me from the joint any day.
Right, well, we got a $100 bet over the HIV thing.
Okay, well, he definitely is on the PC yard. That's...
Listen, if you're
Did you
saying...
see that photo I put up with those?
Yes,
bro,
with the older people.
The only place, ain't no older people. Hey, that don't work up in there. The only place you taking photos like that, with that mixture of race and all of that, is a PC yard.
Protective custody is a whole different world compared to general population. Tighter movement, limited interaction, and constant security. For Suga, a man who built his name on street presence and intimidation, this shift is a major blow. Gone are the days where fear and respect followed him everywhere. Now he's boxed into isolation. On top of that, Suge's health has become a growing concern behind bars. Recent photos show dramatic weight loss, sparking whispers about possible serious conditions. Some insiders blame illness, while others say it's simply the toll of prison life mixed with the realities of aging.
Looks like he lost some weight.
A lot of weight. Yeah, I mean, people are questioning to see if he's sick.
Nah, this is like common prison life, man. You're eating nothing. You're doing nothing. Walking around the yard.
Reports say Suga battles serious health problems, blood clots, partial blindness, and diabetes complications that sometimes land him in the hospital. These conditions have even been used in legal filings, arguing they limit his ability to fully take part in his own defense. But the talk doesn't stop at medical facts. In the hip-hop world, Suga's health has become gossip fuel, with unverified claims sparking heated debates over how bad things really are. His true physical state remains a mystery, and the speculation only keeps growing.
You want to bet?
How much?
Whatever you say.
$100.
That's cool.
All right. So you're going to bet me $100 that Suge has HIV?
We'll give him a couple stacks if I'm wrong.
How would he have gotten it? There's only one way he could have gotten it in jail.
How?
If he was raped by, or he had consensual sex with other male inmate.
These conversations show how prison culture, celebrity, and public gossip collide when it comes to high-profile inmates. Suge's situation proves that incarceration strips away the shield of wealth and fame, leaving even powerful figures wide open to rumors and speculation about their personal lives. Yet even behind bars, Suge keeps pulling strings. Through carefully chosen media appearances, he's found ways to stay relevant and shape the narrative. His interviews about Drake's chain are the latest proof. Limited prison phone time turned into culture-shaking moments that reminded everyone Suge Knight can still command attention in hip-hop.
What do you know about Suge Knight's situation in prison?
The dude's good. He's good. Doesn't stir up. I've interacted with him. I've worked on the facility with him. I've conversed with him. Not in-depth conversation, but he's very respectful. He's well aware of his surroundings. And he knows how to maneuver in prison.
Inside prison, Suge's reputation carries a different weight. It's less about intimidation and more about cautious respect shaped by his age, health struggles, and celebrity status. Gone are the days when his presence alone could freeze a room. Now the dynamic is shifted and even Suge moves differently behind the wall. That's the story so far. But what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more wild hip-hop breakdowns coming your way.